Hey.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome back, Misfits, and welcome back to a new episode. Today, we are continuing the conversation about the Bible's greatest hits. And we're talking about a doozy. We're talking about Samson and Delilah.
Yeah. It's a story.
It's a story, and I'm sure you know something about it. Something about Samson was strong, something about his hair, and that's pretty much all you know.
Something about a woman who tried to get something out of him.
Yeah, something. But we're going into detail today, and we're answering all your questions.
Yes.
So, it's important to give you the backstory of Samson before he met Delilah, so you can understand when she comes into the picture and why she did what she did. So, we see Samson's story in Judges 13 through 16. Samson was someone who was born to be a judge over Israel after the Israelites had sinned against God in the Promised Land. His purpose was to liberate Israel from the Philistines. So if you remember, we've talked about this before, the Israelites were, just doing what they do, and they were like, oh God, send us, we want kings like all the other nations. And that whiny voice, I'm sure. Send us kings like all the other nations. So God was like, okay, I'll send you judges. And Samson was supposed to be one of those judges, right? Mm-hmm. So his dad's name is Manoah. And the Bible mentions that an angel of the Lord came to his wife who had not been able to have children and told her she would get pregnant and have a son. And just BTW, the Bible does not mention her name, even when she had a little encounter with an angel.
Yeah, like she literally talked to an angel, and
we just don't
know
the
Bible is still like, it's Manoah's wife.
Yeah.
Samson's mom.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. Yeah, that's really all you need to know. So we're just going to roll with that because they didn't want to tell us. Right?
Sorry, we don't know her name.
Yeah, exactly. As you're listening to this, please feel free to make up a name if you would like to.
Whatever you want.
So just a teachy moment here. Unlike most pregnancies, especially in the Bible, she was given specific instructions to not drink wine or any alcohol, eat any forbidden food. And this was based on Samson being dedicated to God as a Nazirite since birth. Right? Yes. So these rules were usually only for the actual person. So typically the rules would only have been for Samson, who was set to be the judge. But God made his mom follow those Nazirite instructions also, like throughout her pregnancy.
Yeah, that's just such an interesting fact about it. Like even before he was born, like since the womb, like he was already being prepped in this way.
Yeah, no spiked grape juice
and
shall touch your lips.
He's the only one too. Like he's the only one in the Bible that
so that's really cool. Yep. And of course, so now you know that Samson was called to be a Nazirite, which was a special vow to God. Mm-hmm. Aside from food, they were not supposed to be around anything dead and not cut their hair. So those were some other instructions and some other things that they could not do when you took the Nazirite vow. And just a fun fact for y'all, John the Baptist also took this vow in his ministry.
Right.
Yep.
His was a little different because he took it himself, like as a grown-up, and we talked a little bit about it when we talked about the outsiders, I think, in our episode. But yeah, it was similar vow. It was the Nazirite vow. But,
yeah, so it was cool, and it's interesting to see how, because these are two very different characters, right? John the Baptist and Samson. And John the Baptist was this wild man, like eating honeycomb and all these things, and he's just
wilderness,
like wild-eyed and bushy-tailed, and it's all crazy. And then Samson, who we see, when you know the story, you just see like the strong guy and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting that they took the same vow and they're like completely different people.
Right, yeah.
Something to keep in mind during the whole story is that God gave Samson supernatural strength, and that supernatural strength was specifically tied to his hair.
Right.
Which is just a strange concept, but just keep that in mind as we go through the story.
Right. That's an important fact.
Important fact. Put it in your pocket. Yeah. So just remember that, and here we go. So Samson was a mighty warrior and had killed many Philistines. He even killed a lion with his bare hands, which impressive.
Yes.
Reminds us of David.
Yes.
Very cool.
Very
right? Sadly, though, Samson did not obey God and broke many of his vows.
Yeah.
He had some character issues that he had to work through, which included his romantic interest in Philistine women. So that was just, it was an issue he was dealing with. He had an issue with like downloading and re-downloading Tinder. And it was all Philistine women all the time.
Swiping right all the time.
So it was a little bit of it was a little bit of an issue for him. So because of that interest in Philistine women, he met Delilah, who was very beautiful, but a Philistine.
Who he was fighting against.
So he was supposed to be right. So she was literally part of the people he was supposed to be fighting, but he didn't care because she's beautiful. I love her. She's
I do what
the
I want.
love of my life. And
all these lies.
All these lies.
Because I know there's a passage in there where I think his parents are like, "Are you sure? Like, she's the one for you?" And he's like, "I said what I said.
I said what I said. I done told you. I swiped right. I love her.
Yeah.
This is it." And hey, can we get real close, real intimate? We've all been there, haven't we?
Well, done something
do you
like
feel
that.
a little convicted? Because I do.
Ring any bells.
Yes. At some point, Delilah was approached by Philistine rulers, and she was offered money to find out what made Samson so strong. And that's where, like, what is it? The climax of the story happens.
Yeah, this is where the exciting action happens.
Here we go.
So she does try to trick him many times, 4 times the Bible tells us, just to share his secret. So she does different things to try to get him to spill the beans, if you will. So the first time he tells her that if he's tied up with 7 new bowstrings, he would become weak. And so she's like, all right, sounds good. So she waits till he's asleep and then hits him up and ties him up with these new bowstrings. And she all of a sudden tries to startle him, is yelling like, "Hey, somebody's coming for us, help us," whatever. And of course he breaks free. He's able to snap those bowstrings and
very quickly,
and beat them up or whatever.
Yeah. You thought you had me, but you didn't.
And obviously because he lied. That's not where his strength was coming from.
Right.
And so then,
which is probably one of his character flaws.
Yeah.
Also. He just kept lying.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Just kidding. That's not where I get my strength. JK, that's not true. And then the second time she goes back to Samson and is offended, right? I can't believe you lied to me. Please tell me where your strength comes from. And so this time he tells her that if he's tied up with brand new ropes, he will become weak. I can't fight if you tie me up with new ropes. So again, she waits till he's asleep, ties him up with the new ropes, and basically does the same thing she did the first time, right? She ties him up, waits till he's asleep, and then she does the whole commotion, they're coming for us, they're coming to attack us, blah, blah, blah. And what happens? Homeboy breaks free again.
Yep.
So again, he just gets up, fight these guys, whatever, no big deal. So of course, Delilah is mad again, because she's like, oh my gosh. So
how dare you?
Yeah, how dare you lie to me again? So here's a third time, and he's real mad. And she pretends to be hurt that he had lied to her and oh my God, I can't believe you did this. Please tell me where your strength comes from. And so then Samson's he tells her, well, if you take my hair and put it in 7 braids and then you weave it into this fabric of this loom and tighten it on there, that's when I become weak. And
this one he gave a lot more detail because he's you know what?
A little more specific.
She needs more detail in order to believe that this is the way.
Yeah.
And also, how deep of a sleeper was he?
Yeah,
that
for
he just didn't wake up.
That all these things, he kept being tied up and all these things.
He's just pretending to be asleep the whole time.
He's we'll see what she does.
It's ridiculous.
It's part of his game. He likes it. So anyway, so he tells her that, and so she does it again. She does the whole weaving thing and puts him in the loom thing. And again, she yells out, "Hey, someone's coming for us. We're being attacked, whatever." And he, of course, breaks free again from this contraption thing. And not to get teachy, but yes, get teachy. We mentioned a loom. You're probably like, what even is that? And it's a contraption. It's a device that was used to weave clothing and tapestry. It's how to make fabric, because back in the day, you couldn't just go to Walmart or even Joann's, you had to make your own.
It's an old school sewing machine.
Yeah. So you literally made the fabric and then made your clothes or whatever. So it was mainly used to hold all the threads, and we're able to do it lengthwise and crosswise and the whole thing, so you can have fabric to actually dress yourself. So that's what a loom is, if you wanted to know,
And I'm sure someone out there did.
Someone, yeah. I was curious. I was like,
yes.
What is a loom? And why is his hair in it? Now you know why hair, because it's similar to fabric.
Yeah.
Or thread. So anyway, so here's Delilah, the no-quitter hitter. She basically pulls out the big guns, right? How can you say you love me and not share your secret?
I thought we were meant to be together forever, and you won't even tell me where your son comes from. How am I supposed to trust you with our future children?
Yeah, how dare you, straight to my face, lie, even though she was doing the exact same thing. Let's be honest here. But the Bible says that she just kept nagging him for days. And it got to the point where he just got sick of her nagging and was like, all right, I'll tell you the truth. So keep in mind, the Bible says not to nag, especially to women. It tells us not to nag. So just gonna leave that there. Just if you didn't know.
You know what? If the shoe fits, wear it. If not, then just move right along.
This is probably an example of the nagging.
But just know it's biblical.
Yeah,
and the Bible says, woman, don't nag him.
Don't nag.
That's what it says. Continue.
Yeah, so, anywho. So this fourth time, Samson tells Delilah the actual truth and tells her that his hair has never been cut because he is a Nazirite. He took a Nazirite vow and that he's been dedicated to God. So, hey, if you shave my head, my strength will leave me and become weak. And so I guess there was like sincerity behind that, some kind of, feeling that she got like, now he's telling the truth. So Delilah lets the Philistine rulers know, hey, I got the truth out of him. So you need to come, bring the money. I ain't playing no more. Like, this is legit. Like, this is the right time. So she gets Samson to fall asleep again, which how he just kept falling asleep after every time this happened, like, or something like this happened, is just
it just made me think, like, while you were reading it, that she was probably really good at manipulating him. Yeah. But
you had
there
this
was
trust,
a lot of manipulation going on, because this man just kept falling asleep. Unless she was, like, making him some weird tea concoctions and making him fall asleep. But, like, the Bible doesn't tell us that.
Knocking him out.
Yeah, like, what's happening? How much Benadryl have you given him?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So
many questions.
I think part of it might be, like, his pride, too, like, knowing, like,
I'm the strongest man in the world.
Strong,
you can't do nothing to me. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So even though he was lying to her, he was like, nothing's gonna happen to me, kind of thing. But he kind of didn't think this one through.
Not too much.
So again, she gets Samson to fall asleep, and while he's asleep, Delilah gets someone to come and shave his head. And so once his head's shaved, now his strength has left him. So she does the same thing as she had done before, where she's like yelling and being like, hey, someone's come to capture us, someone's here for us, like, you need to get up and fight. But now he's bald. And because he's bald, he's weak, and he can't fight back. So then they're captured. They capture him, and sadly enough, like, they don't just capture him, they gouge his eyes out. So they're, like, real mad at him. Like, they just don't want him. So they take him as a prisoner, actually, and then they force him to do, like, hard labor. He has to, like, grind grain. So now he's bald, he's got no eyes, and he's doing some really rough work, like grinding grain. Yeah. So this story really took a turn.
Took a turn.
Real turn, yeah.
He went from this great vow and his mom all these things, and angels came to you, and then all of a sudden.
And it seemed like, oh wow, he found someone and seemingly in love. Yeah. And then he just, like, everything.
This is like a horror dating story, isn't it?
Yes,
it is.
These are the bad Tinder stories.
A biblical bad Tinder story, yes.
So the Bible doesn't tell us anything else about Delilah. We just imagine she took the money and went on her way and, witness protection or something far away from maybe where she was. She made a deal after Samson got captured. So if you do want to know what happens to Samson after all of this, you can read the end of Judges chapter 16. Just as an FYI, it's not exactly a happy ending. Things don't quite go as well for Samson. There are some positives there, but it's a sad story all around, let's be honest. So if you kind of want to know what happens there, you can read the end of that. Just like we've been saying, like, pro tip, don't make Samson and Delilah relationship goals. No. Like, they definitely had a lot of things going against them. They were not the ideal couple, so learn what not to do through them. And this definitely is an example of what the Bible means being unequally yoked.
Yes, if there's ever an example, this is the example.
Like, you saw the lies, you saw the betrayal, you saw
the manipulation. Yep, you saw it all.
Going against God, like all these things. So, yeah, unfortunately not a great example, but learn from it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Learn from it. Learn from Samson and Delilah of what not to do.
Yes.
We hope that you do go read the end of Judges chapter 16 so you see what happens to Samson. It's a great picture of God also.
Yes.
Because God is so faithful, and you can see that when you read the end of the story. But we hope that you enjoyed the story. We hope that you learned something, and you learned maybe more details about the story of Samson and Delilah that you didn't know before. Because basically all we're taught is really about the shaved head and the strength, and that's pretty much it.
He had it. He lost it.
You don't know all about the relationship and the mistakes that he made, that Delilah made, the manipulation and all that stuff. So we hope that you learned something. We hope that you enjoyed this story and take it with you, If you're having a Tinder situation, maybe use it and apply it. If you're not, then good for you. Let's say hashtag equally yoked people.
Yes.
All right. And with that, we're going to leave it there. This is Fran.
This is Yadi.
We are the Midtown Misfits, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.